What is up, guys? This is Kai from KaiCreative, and today we are talking about the rule of thirds. So what is the rule of thirds? The rule of thirds is considered by many to be a basic rule of composition in photography and video making. Basically, you have to imagine these two horizontal lines coming across the screen and two vertical lines coming down the screen, splitting the screen into 9 separate sections with 4 interconnecting points. In most cases, you won't actually have to imagine these lines, as most modern cameras will have a grid that you can turn on with the rule of thirds that you can then see on your LCD screen. So why do we want to use the rule of thirds? The rule of thirds stipulates that by having your subject of interest on any of these horizontal or vertical lines, or at any of the 4 interconnecting points, will make your photo or your video footage look much more aesthetically pleasing to the eye. The rule of thirds also helps to create space and direction in your shots. It gives the viewer time to look at the subject of interest, to take in the environment, and then for their eye to settle back on the subject of interest, and thus telling a story. The rule of thirds also stipulates that if you have a horizon in your photo or your video footage, you should place it not in the center of the screen, but one of the 2 vertical lines to make it again look much more pleasing to the eye. If you're filming people, the rule of third also encourages you to put their eyes on one of those rule of third lines or at one of the interconnecting points. Again, it helps to draw the viewer in and makes for a much more interesting shot. So how can we apply this rule to our videography, to our filmmaking? Whether we're filming a music video, interviews, a corporate event, a wedding, absolutely anything, we can apply the rule of thirds to it. As an example, when we filmed a music video with the indie group Flyzig, we used the rule of thirds on the horizon when Mr. Flyzig was walking out of the sea. Here we can see the pebbly beach in the foreground, as well as the sea and the sky. So we split the 3 layers up to coincide with the rule of thirds. In this shot, we actually break that rule by having the horizon in the middle of the screen, but Mr. Flyzig comes out of the sea on one of the vertical thirds. So you don't always have to follow the rule of thirds. It's more of a guide to help you to know where to have your subject roughly to make your shot much more aesthetically pleasing. When it comes to the rule of thirds, you also want to be mindful of leading space or looking space. As we can see in this example of this interview, our interviewee is sitting on the vertical rule of thirds line and he's looking over to the left. Therefore, our leading space or our looking space again is off to the left. If we had our interviewee looking directly towards the wall of the screen, that would look very odd and awkward. So having leading space or looking space is also very important in setting up your interviews or other shots. Again, you should apply this rule to B-roll or cutaways or anything else that you're filming. Wherever your subject is looking, make sure that you have that leading space or looking space in front of them. Looking space and leading space can also help with the direction of where things are going. If your subject is moving from left to right, then you want to keep them on that vertical rule of thirds line and have that leading space moving in front of them. This helps to fill in the idea of where your subject is going and for the viewer to understand what direction they're moving in. Now, some people might say that a true creative doesn't need to use or follow the rule of thirds, that they should just go with what looks good to them. But if you're just starting out in photography or videography, following these rules will instantly make your pictures, and in our case videos, look very professional and high quality. Remember that composition is emphasis on the picture, and ultimately we want to create a pleasing shot that keeps the viewer focused on our story. If we were to film awkward shots, this would take the viewer out of the story and have them focus on the filming technique. This would then obscure our message or our story that we want to convey to the audience. So using the rule of thirds is very beneficial when it comes to storytelling, and ultimately as filmmakers, that is what we want to do. So that's my quick breakdown on the rule of thirds. If I've left out anything important, please do let me know in the comment box below. If there are any more filmmaking techniques or tips that you'd like to know more about, then again, let me know in the comment box below. Don't forget to subscribe to KaiCreative, share this content if you find it valuable. Don't forget to imagine, implement and inspire, and I'll see you guys next time on KaiCreative.